Well, welcome to 700 Club Canada. I'm really glad you joined me today. We're going to be learning some new things. I've got a great guest coming up, and maybe you're asking the question, where does your value and worth come from? Well, I'll tell you, we're all asking that question. It actually is a question at the core of our identity. Who am I, and what is God's purpose? What is the purpose for my life? We're going to talk about that throughout the show, and we're going to meet a new friend of mine, Aaron Armstrong, a Canadian writer who's just amazing, brilliant communicator, and he's written a new book called I'm a Christian, Now What? I love the title by Aaron. It's actually a practical guide that helps new believers navigate the challenges and opportunities of the Christian life. And I know a few new believers in my life, and I'm thinking, boy, this would be great to do it, to read along with them. Well, maybe you've got someone in mind. So here's Aaron. Aaron, welcome to 700 Club Canada. Glad to have you with us.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, I love this book. I love the way you wrote it, and I just want to know more about it, even for our viewers. So what inspired you to write, I'm a Christian, Now What?
Yeah, the book itself was really born out of my own experience because I came to faith as an adult when I was 25 going on 26, had no real church background whatsoever. Really, the only things I knew about Jesus and Christianity, it all came from pop culture, which is to say I didn't know anything. And so when I came to faith, the first question that I had was, well, now what? What does it mean to be a Christian? What does it mean to live out this faith, and not just from the nuts and bolts of what is it actually that I believe beyond the life, death, and resurrection for the forgiveness of our sins, but how does what I believe about Jesus affect every aspect of my life from beginning to end? And so that is what inspired the book a few years down the road, of course. Um,
I love
but yeah.
I love that, Aaron. You know what? When I read it, it makes so much sense because it's like you're actually asking really honest questions. And of people who I've walked with who just like, well, I don't even know what this looks like. Like, I didn't grow up in church. I don't know how to do this thing, right? And so, is this book only for new Christians, or would you say that it could be beneficial to others?
No, while I definitely had new believers in mind as I was writing, one of the key things with it is that I wanted it to be beneficial to established or seasoned Christians as well. People who are actually going to be ministering to, befriending, serving people who are coming to faith in Jesus now today. People who will see a church building, a building with a cross on it, but won't recognize the symbol of the cross as representing Jesus, but we'll see a letter T. And so they need support from people who are a little further ahead down the road, or who have grown up in church. But those people also need support to better understand what it is that they and we are uh, really what we're dealing with now in this time in Western society we've moved uh, where we've moved past any significant remaining knowledge of what Christianity is and what we believe permeating the air.
I am so with you on this. I mean, I've been a pastor. I was raised in the church, you know what I mean? Like, I knew all this stuff. And to be honest, it put me at a disadvantage because I'm like, I don't even know the questions people are asking. But as the Lord's brought more and more people in my life who are like, they just don't have any of this background. Honestly, as I read your book, I'm like, yeah, they're the questions that they're asking. And I think it's such a great resource. I have a friend actually who we're going to go through this together because she doesn't know nothing about church. She doesn't know any of it. And she's asking a lot of the same questions you ask. What sets your book apart, Aaron, from maybe others for new believers? What's the difference?
Yeah, so I think one of the key differences in this book versus many of the other ones. There are a lot of great books out there that deal with the practical, like the fundamentals of the faith in terms of this is what we believe, and certainly there's some crossover in this book in terms of dealing with the disciplines of our faith and the really the core pillars of what is the Bible and how do we read it? What is prayer and why does this feel kind of weird? How do we engage with the church? But so much of it is built out of that firsthand experience as someone who really is just a little bit ahead of them,
Yeah.
who has had to walk through these kinds of questions and to be able to come out the other side
Yeah.
a little more faithful to Jesus, at least I hope, as a
Yeah.
result.
Well, I really think so. I mean, if there was one thing, what do you think is the most important thing for a new Christian to either know or to do? What would you say?
Oh man, that is a good question because I think it's really um, when it comes to getting your foundation. There's not really one. There's three things that I talk about at the beginning of the book, and they're absolutely essential. We need to develop our relationship with God, which takes two forms. The first is hearing from God through the scriptures, and so that means that we have to know what the Bible is and also what it isn't, in order to read it appropriately and hear from God through it. Likewise, we need to learn what prayer is, which fundamentally is just talking to God. And so to be able to come to God with just being who we are with the language and vocabulary that we have based on our personalities and our experiences, to speak to him, and develop that relationship with him through those two means, but also through the third means of the church. And so being in community with other believers to see right away and to gain this firm conviction that that while there is a very individual and very personal aspect to coming to faith, the key to it is not that it is not a purely individualistic thing, that we are saved to a community, we're saved to a family.
Yeah.
And so we want to embrace that side of it, and we want to be a part of that in whatever that looks like,
Mhm.
whatever background, flavor,
Yeah,
we might
exactly.
say.
Exactly. And I think that's the truth of when you come to Christ, you become more fully who God intended you to be. So thank
Mhm.
you so much, Aaron. This is a great resource for new Christians. And I would say for those of you like myself who've got lots of people in our life that we can walk alongside with them, this is a great resource to do together and learn together. Thank you so much, Aaron, for writing it. God bless you in all that you do.
Thank you. You as well.
Well, for more about Aaron and how to get I'm a Christian Now What, go to 700club.ca.